Justin Trudeau's fiscal shell game. I'm Brian Lilly with Rebel.media. A new report out from the Finance Department. Bureaucrats inside the Finance Department in Ottawa say that Canada's future fiscal sustainability could be put at risk. This should come as no surprise to anyone that's followed Justin Trudeau's thoughts on economics. Remember how he described how the budget would be able to come back to balance.
The commitment needs to be a commitment to grow the economy, and the budget will balance itself.
Or there were his comments on how to grow the economy.
Well, the fact is, we're proposing a strong and real plan, one that invests in the middle class so that we can grow the economy, not from the top down the way Mr. Harper wants to, but from the heart outwards. That's what Canada has always done well with.
These comments show that Trudeau's understanding of economics is negligible at best. But this is the man in charge of the Canadian economy and the Canadian government now. This report, put out just before Christmas by the bureaucrats in the Finance Department, went little noticed until Anthony Furey at Post Media, writing for the Sun chain of papers, put out the story. Look at this front page of the Toronto Sun today. Spot on. We are in trouble, folks. What does this report tell us? It says that we could have deficits from now until 2055. Yeah, I'm stuttering over that. 2055. They would peak at $38.5 billion a year in 2035 and then take 20 more years before we would be in a surplus or balanced budget position. We would see deficit spending add up and add up and add up to the point where the national debt would go from about $600 million now to $1.5 trillion by 2055. And we would end up in a situation where our debt to GDP ratio, rather than going down the way the Liberals promised, would actually go up. Is this what we were promised in the last election? No. In the last election, we were promised three small deficits, $10 billion a year, $30 billion total to boost the Canadian economy, and yet that is not happening. Now, lest you think that this is a report put out by rogue bureaucrats, they are obviously trying to put the Sunny Ways stamp on this report. Check out this quote. It says, As this demographic transition unfolds, the government will continue to take smart decisions and make sound investments to build Canada's economy of the future and create an economy that works for the middle class. That sounds like it comes straight out of the Trudeau election platform itself. But a little further on, it also gives this warning. If things don't go the way that they think they will, well, it could get a lot worse. Quote, for example, a combination of lower than expected productivity growth, following the growth trend of the last decade, and higher than expected program spending growth, equal to 1/4 percentage point more per year, would be sufficient to put at risk the fiscal sustainability of the federal government. We already know that this is a big spending government. They don't actually care about fiscal responsibility. So this scenario where the fiscal sustainability of the federal government is put at risk, that is actually quite probable. Ian Lee, no stranger to viewers of The Rebel, is a professor at the Sprott School of Business at Carleton University. He was quoted in the Sun article that first exposed this as saying, "We're essentially paying for groceries on the credit card." Lee said, "What really concerns me is they're borrowing for current spending. It's one thing to borrow to buy a house. It's another thing to borrow to buy groceries. They're borrowing to finance consumption instead of long-term assets. I don't think that's going to end well." Now, the House of Commons is not in session, but obviously the Conservatives are all over this. Conservative finance critic Gerard Deltel saying, "The Conservative government left the Liberals with a balanced budget. Now, after just more than a year of Justin Trudeau, Canadians are looking at deficits as far as the eye can see and federal debt projections of $1.5 trillion by 2045. One way or another, Canadians are going to foot the bill for Liberal mismanagement, and I have no trust that there is a credible path back to a balanced budget." Deltel says that he and his fellow Conservatives will be on the lookout when the Liberals do get around to tabling Budget 2017. But is it going to matter? Are Canadians going to pay attention to this? It didn't even get picked up in the media until Furey found it and put it on the front page of the Toronto Sun. Is this something that's going to drive Canadians to say, hey, wait a minute, we were fine with a little bit of deficit spending if we thought it would grow the economy. Now we're looking at slower economic growth, we're looking at bigger deficits, bigger debt, and, well, an economy that's just going to hell in a handbasket. It's time for Canadians to wake up and realize that Justin Trudeau, when he says the budget will balance itself or will grow the economy from the heart out, clearly shows he doesn't have a clue what he's talking about. And it's time for all Canadians to remember that when 2019 comes around, it's time to send him packing before he gets another 40 years of adding on to the debt. If you liked the video you just saw, make sure you never miss a Rebel video again. Click subscribe or head on over to therebel.media and become a premium member. You'll be able to access content only members can see.